Professor Neeraj has already talked a lot about me. And let me share my experience for publishing in A category journals or top tier journals. So before moving to my SLR, since I have published in SLR, let me, because there are some good people, new people also, some of the early scholars are also present in the Zoom meeting. So let me share some of the basic fundamentals of research. That is the journey from idea generation to the publication. And this basically slides are just to motivate you and lead you through my main thing, which is the SLR. And what is a research? So the Oxford Dictionary says the definition of research that it is a careful investigation or inquiry through search for new facts in any branch of knowledge. For example, if you are doing PhD in the area of operations management, so you will try to find what are the areas, what new facts you can contribute to the existing body of knowledge. And that basically is simply research. Sounds very simple, right? So moving further, but in terms of writing paper, this is a famous Twitter guy. He says that research is spending 6 hours of reading 35 papers so that you can write one and that too having two references. So now you also understand that writing research and publishing research is not a cakewalk. And it requires a lot of effort and constant encouragement to write a paper who can publish in top tier journals, right? And coming to the social sciences, as you all know that we are all most of the scholars are from the management department. So we all are scholars of social science domain. And in social science domain, primarily research is of two types. One is of deductive type. Basically, the data and the analysis is of quantitative primarily. And we see the causal inferences, whether X leads to Y, whether high pay leads to the job satisfaction in an organization or not. So such type of causality, causal linkage, right? We try to understand in social science research in a deductive type of research. And the other is inductive type of research. In that is primarily of the qualitative type. So basically it tries to explore the new phenomena and looking at the previous phenomena from a new perspective also. So let us suppose that since COVID-19 is a new thing, right? And if some of the scholars of psychology would also be present here who would like to know what is the feeling of that person who has just got affected from COVID-19. What is the post-COVID symptoms? How does he feel or not? So this type of analysis is more primarily worked through the inductive research, right? And that is basically the inductive research. Now, as most of you are the young scholars, you might be very much curious that which topic I should choose in the research, right? And that is quite a tough thing if your guide doesn't tell you that you can work on this, you can work on that area, right? So what you can do to identify your topic, I'm talking it in general terms. First, you have to understand, okay, I am the scholar of the marketing domain, and here is some problem. Basically, brand love, some brand love. I am interested in brand love. What is this brand love, right? And there is some issues in this brand love field of marketing literature. So you will first identify, okay, here's the problem, right? And then you have to identify, okay, is this problem an interesting problem or not, right? And how you will identify it, you will see and go to and fro through the literature, and you will try to see whether this problem is unsolved, whether have some of the scholars has already worked in this area or not, right? You have to go through this and check, right? And then you have to come up through your idea. Okay, this is my idea and I'm planning to do this type of research. I'm trying to adopt this type of methodology. This type of research has been done in the US, but maybe it is possible that this type of research might not be bring the same results if I talk in Indian context, right? So this type of idea you should come when you try to identify these topics, right? And thereafter, you have to also say that, yes, my idea works. Through details, you have to collect the data, you have to analyze it, and you have to put the results. And therefore, this is one of the good feature, and your supervisor might think, yes, it is a little bit tough to get published papers, and you may say, no, no, whatever the guide says, it is much more tougher, right? And you would say how it actually basically is developed through to and fro. You have to write the paper, you have to go back to the methodology, you have sometimes you have to again rewrite the methodology as per the reviewer comments, right? And because some of the reviewer will say that do this, and the other would say the completely opposite of it, and this is not easy. The publication process is not easy, it's quite tough. And once your paper is accepted, publish and present it in a very clean slate format, right? And this is how is the journey of the research, right? And you must also focus upon the three I's of research. By three I's, the first I is interest. It should be of interest to the editor you're trying to do, and it's not just for the sake of writing, right? You have to see what is the journal requirement, what is the interest of the aim and vision of the and scope of that journal, whether it would create an interest to the audience of that journal, right? You have to check all those things before even writing your research, before even thinking of doing any particular research. You have to go deep and you see what are the outlets, which are the outlets where my research will get published, right? And therefore, if your topic is good, then you also see that whether I am creating significant impact through my research, and that basically is the theoretical contributions and the practical contributions. What are you bringing to the table? That also you have to think. And many of the, let me tell you, many of the good journals, I mean, approximately nowadays every journal expects the writer or the scholar to put this, what is the theoretical contribution, what are you contributing to this academia, right? And what to the practice. Will your research will be beneficial to the managers working in some organization or in a SME, right? Small and medium scale industry, or even for the education sector. You have to see your impact of the research and what all insights you bring. It's not just like you are just proving a hypothesis that X leads to Y and Y doesn't lead to Z. That doesn't make a significance. You have to bring some new insights that Y is X leading to Y, and Y is not leading to Z, right? You have to also look on all those aspects as well. And um, so the process of the research, so you have to identify two broad areas. Some good expert, as you have, might be a scholar of a marketing domain or a finance domain. You might be interested to know that good areas about your topic. For example, for finance guys, you may be thinking about behavioral finance, which is quite new, right? And they may also develop interest to write a SLR on behavioral finance, right? You can think of writing the behavioral biases existing in investors decision making. If you are a scholar of finance, this is one of the good topics, right? And I'm not the scholar of finance, but just let me tell you, I'm the scholar of operations management. But still, this type of things you can think, and then you have to immerse yourself in this research and get a good grasp of literature, right? You have to go and see all those existing literature existing in the behavioral finance domain. You have to enter those keywords. You have to go to and fro of each of the recent published papers, and you have to identify the gap out of those literature, right? And coming to the step two, once you have your research area, as I told you, you have to identify the gaps that can hit top tier journals. And how you will know that? By reading good papers, which are published in good journals. And they call for papers. What are they expect? What type of recent publications are happening in that journals in the recent recent 5 years, right? And at this stage, you have to also think, yes, this type of variables, the association of one variable with the other, and such type of associations have been sought. But I am thinking that the third variable is can also in the relationship between these two variables. So these type of things will come only once you read the paper, once you identify and analyze the gaps, right? And access also what you are hearing. You should have a gut feeling that yes, my idea is potential. It's not just putting two hypotheses or three hypotheses and writing a paper. It requires much more than that. You have to see that how you are developing that paper, how will that paper be published in A star or A category. You have to see what is the potential of that paper, whatever you are trying to write, right? And you should also, because you would also take data from the survey. If you're collecting a question, if you're doing a structural equation modeling or a cross-sectional study, you have to also collect the data. So you must also have the access to collect those data, right? So these things you have to keep in mind once you write the research. And then after you are have thought of collecting the data, you have to first perform the preliminary analysis. What I mean by preliminary analysis, you have to do the pilot survey. And therefore, thereafter, you should also do the thorough analysis, like the full analysis of the of your research, whatever you have collected. If the preliminary analysis or the pilot survey comes good and the results are coming in the positive way, right? You are getting the expected results at least. So you should go for thorough analysis. But let me tell you, there is a catch here. As Professor Neeraj has also talked, that you must also check many robustness check. Even collecting the data, while collecting the data, there are several biases, right? Called as common method biases. For example, you have put a questionnaire online, right? And you expect that this person will fill the right set of entries. Once they will put the right set of entries, but this is not necessarily true. He may be in a jiffy and he may take all this. If on a Likert scale, he can take all in the five, 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 five. Strongly agree. He can do that. So you have to check for all those biases which exist while data collection, right? And Professor Neeraj has also talked about endogeneity, and he will be talking more in the subsequent sections, right? So you also have to check all those things. And coming to the step 5, then you write the solid introduction, multiple drafts. You have to refer many papers related to your area, right? Whatever your topic is, you have to see the only the introduction part, read only the introduction part, and check what is the soul of that paper, what basically is the essence of this paper, what is the writing style, how this scholar has written that paper, how another paper, what is the way they have written those papers, what are the good amount of words, what is the word choice. That also you have to think while writing the good amount good quality paper, right? Because our English is not the first language, right? So we also would require to refer many good rated journals and the papers in that, and try to identify, yes, this word is good, okay, let me also incorporate this word in my paper. And that brings the quality of the introduction section, right? And once you have written the introduction, share it to your guide, share it to your friend, share it to someone who you trust, and you say that yes, this person can provide the logical way of, yes, you have written the introduction in a good way. And this type of things you have to, you have to develop this community as well of the researchers or the like-minded people who are trying to publish in good paper, good rated journals, right? And thereafter you have to write the methods, what you have a method sections, what are the analysis you have performed, what results you have got, right? And it is very much important nowadays. Every good quality journal is asking that what is your theory behind your paper, right? And some of us not know what exactly is a theory, but that's completely okay. And I will be talking about one such theory known as behavioral reasoning theory. And we will be talking about more in detail about this theory in subsequent sections. But you must also identify what are the existing theories which are present in your domain, what are the other theories which are present in other psychology domain. If you're talking about behavioral finance, you must definitely have to look upon the psychology theories and try to put that psychology theory into the finance domain. And these things you have to do interdisciplinary research, or you have to perform if you want to write a good journal, good quality paper, right? And you must also participate in research seminars, right, and the conference as well. And you just present your paper. Do not fear to present, that somebody will take my idea. It's not that easily possible to do your research, what you have gone through and developed through in months over the period of time, and other person will come and completely will write your research and snatch or theft your research. No, you should go, you should share your data, you should share, tell those results and try to present whatever you are trying to present. You should present first in the conference, and thereafter you will get some of the critical comments from the reviewers or or even the fellow presenters, right? And thereafter you should incorporate all those comments as well. And let me tell you, I do the same. I first present the topic which I am working upon in some of the other conference. I try to get some of the critical comments, and thereafter I try to incorporate them and in my full paper, and then I submit to the journal. And yes, it is completely possible that your paper may get rejected. And let me tell you, I have published three A category paper, as Professor Neeraj has told you about. But my rejection rate is, I mean, I got rejected at least 25 times for just publishing three papers. But let me tell you, you should always remember that once you send the paper, this is the path. So there are evil scientists or the evil reviewers which are in your pathway, and they are trying to destroy your work which you have developed painstakingly, right, for the period of time, for sure. And they are trying to, how can your paper be rejected? They're trying to see this thing. And there is the evil, that is one of the reviewer in the end, who is there to reject you even in the third round of revision, right? So this is how the research journey is all about. But you should not lose hope, because it is always said that, in short, you're planning to do your PhD in such a way, but in reality, you can say that the journey is quite different whatever you expected, right? It's totally different. And let me tell you what the I just submitted my thesis and I'm about to join in some institute in the next month. But let me tell you, it's a very challenging journey, and you must not lose hope, and you must not understand that you are lesser than anybody, and you must try to do good work. Sooner or later your paper will get published if your idea is good, if your writing style is good, right? So you have to think, how can you improvise your writing, and all those things you have to consider. Once you read and once you do the research, you have to go through all these again and again, and there is how you will come. But remember, suffering is temporary and publications are forever, right? And with this, I think you are quite motivated